In a dramatic and historic turn of events, the International High Court has officially issued a call on the South African Parliament to implement the arrest of President Cyril Ramaphosa. An international judicial authority known for stepping in only in the most egregious human rights and corruption cases is now directly aiming at the president of Africa's most advanced democracy. It is no longer a rumor in opposition party corridors. It is a stark echo ringing through global media and judicial systems. The seriousness of this turn of events cannot be overemphasized. The very foundation of South Africa's political framework is being challenged as the world waits with bated breath for Parliament's next action. South Africans have been dealing with scandal after scandal for months, but few struck as hard as the news of Ramaphosa's supposed involvement in long-standing state corruption. Investigative reporting, whistleblower claims, bank leaks, and now official international evidence have all painted an alarming portrait. The files that are said to have propelled the High Court into action are said to begin at offshore accounts, secret contracts, and mysterious cash reserves that are directly connected to Ramaphosa's inner circle. These are charges long brushed off by his diehards as mere political theater. They have now been ratified and legitimized by global law enforcement agencies, placing Parliament in the spotlight. The court ruling clearly states that if South Africa's parliament does nothing, it may be sanctioned internationally, face trade repercussions and diplomatic blowback. This is no longer all about Ramaphosa. It's about the honor of the entire country as the burden from the High Court falls squarely on the National Assembly's table. Pandemonium sets in. Parliamentarians are being compelled to decide between loyalty to an established political system and the unbreakable gravity of international legal gravitas. Descriptions of the mood in Parliament by insiders are tense and fractured. There are some ANC members who remain faithful to Ramaphosa, calling the demand a gross overreach and insisting South Africa cannot let foreign courts make domestic decisions. Others, particularly from the opposition benches, are taking the opportunity to demand immediate enforcement and the toppling of the president. There are already cracks emerging even within the ANC. Senior voices are quietly calling on Ramaphosa to resign willingly, fearing that defying an international command may cause irreparable damage to the country's image and economy. This has caused shockwaves not just across the continent, but around the world. Nations that have trade pacts with South Africa are following developments with keen interest. Foreign investors are reassessing their holdings. Human rights groups are demanding quick accountability while world media headlines are presenting South Africa's response as a measure of contemporary African democracy. If Parliament defies the order, it will be a repudiation of global cooperation and could result in devastating diplomatic and economic isolation. If they enforce the order, it will be the first time in South Africa's democratic era that a sitting president is arrested in office because of a decision by an international court. Either course of action has historical implications. The Democratic Alliance, Economic Freedom Fighters, Action SA and other critical opposition leaders have come out firing. Their message is loud and clear: comply with the order or disband this parliament. DA leader John Steenhuisen called for an emergency sitting, describing the High Court judgment as a gift-wrapped moment of truth for Parliament to demonstrate its allegiance to the people rather than party leadership. He contended that inaction would leave South Africa with a pariah status in the world community. EFF leader Julius Malema went further, calling for the whole government system to be overhauled. In his passionate words, "If we can't hold one man accountable, then the rest of us are already slaves to a dictatorship dressed in a democratic costume." His words were greeted with thunderous applause from his party benches and even nods of affirmation from unlikely places in the opposition fold. Action SA's Herman Mashaba also contributed, stating this was the time to move out from under what he referred to as the suffocating grip of corruption that has strangled South Africa for decades. He called on Parliament to act swiftly, with delay likely to tell the world that our institutions are nothing but hollow shells unable to protect democracy. With pressure piling up from all sides, domestic and international, the man at the eye of the storm has kept quiet for the most part. For a brief statement by a presidential mouthpiece decrying the arrest order as hasty and uninformed, Ramaphosa himself has not made an appearance. Observers feel this may be a tactical withdrawal, a chance for him to seek legal and political counsel. Others speculate he could be gearing up to negotiate a likely departure, perhaps in exchange for immunity or less time. But the longer the silence drags on, the more it provokes speculation and indignation. Demonstrators have started congregating outside Parliament in Cape Town, brandishing placards saying, "No one is above the law and justice must prevail." Civil society bodies are organizing mass action, threatening the government will not act without pressure from below. The urgency in the streets reflects the mounting impatience in capitals around the world. In private, behind closed doors, ANC bigwigs are allegedly under siege from frantic strategy sessions. Some are tossing around suggestions of using Section 89 of the Constitution to impeach the president on the basis of serious misconduct. Others are pushing for a diplomatic confrontation, testing the waters to see if a High Court order can actually be enforced without Parliament's assistance. Still, each option poses huge risk. Internationally, responses are rapid. The European Union has made a statement calling on South Africa to maintain the rule of law. The United States threatened the possibility of reviews under current bilateral arrangements. Neighboring states in the Southern African Development Community remain tactfully quiet, afraid of being caught in the tempest. But analysts caution that should South Africa not comply, shockwaves could undermine regional cooperation frameworks that rely significantly on Pretoria's leadership. In contrast, the financial markets are on edge. The rand has already fallen and rumors are increasing that foreign investment flows could pick up pace if the crisis persists. Economists talk about possible job losses and growth reduction if sanctions become a reality. For regular South Africans, this is not political theater. It's a threat hanging over livelihoods. But amidst the chaos, there's also a rising sense of possibility. Some say that this crisis may be the start of a new chapter, a moment when institutions can be rebuilt, political culture rebooted, and the world shown that accountability is not up for negotiation. Others see it as a nightmare, an embarrassment that will stain South Africa's democratic record for generations. Thus, the standoff continues. Will Parliament yield to international standards and sanction the arrest of an incumbent president? Will the ANC mobilize in defense of its boss, even if this means the risk of worldwide isolation? Or will Ramaphosa himself opt for resignation before the tide sweeps over him?